How's it going, everybody? So today we will be tackling some maintenance on the Volvo C30. I just want to be clear, this is not meant to be a tutorial, but kind of just a comparison of the old versus new parts, and just to see how long this type of job would take for your average DIYer. That's me. Also, I just didn't want to make a tutorial because FCP Euro, where I got my parts from, already has an excellent in-depth video on how to do this job, which is what I will personally be following, and the link to that is down in the description. Now, I wanted to replace my starter because the car has been doing what I would describe as a weak start, which I'll show you guys in a little bit what that sounds like. And then the oil filter housing has been leaking some oil for quite a bit. I already have a video on replacing the diaphragm for that, so that hasn't been a problem, but it's still leaking some oil. If you haven't seen the diaphragm replacement, there's a link to that video right here. So without further ado, I'm just going to go ahead and unbox these parts, give this a shot, and then I will update you guys as to how difficult the job was and exactly how long it took me. Let's get into it. Alright, so let's go ahead and open this. For whatever reason, these two hose clamps came separately in a different package, so I already opened them. But let's go ahead and open the rest of this. Real quick, for those of you who don't know about FCP Euro, they are one of the best places to order parts for European cars. I'm not sponsored by them or anything like that, but it has been the best experience. The shipping is always really quick, the customer service is great, and the absolute best part is all of their parts are guaranteed for life. So if any of their parts fail, as long as you bought it from them, you ship it back to them and they will send you a brand new one free of charge, which is pretty insane. So definitely check them out if you have a European car. Let's go ahead and open this. That was smooth. Let's see what we got here. Very nice packaging. So we got one here. So we got this hose here, which attaches to the oil filter housing. Nice. Another hose. We got all the hose. Ziz. I guess I deserve that. So I'm going to just hold the phone now after that. Anyway, we got some engine bolts there. The clamps I already showed you and the hoses. I'm sure one of these is the oil filter housing and the other one is the starter. Let's go ahead and open them up. It's a little hard for me to do with one hand, so I'll just open them real quick. Alright, so it looks like I was correct. We have our starter right here. Whoa, that's heavy. Brand new starter, very nice. And then here is our oil filter housing. Also very nice. And I believe this does come with an oil filter already inside, and the diaphragm, everything else brand new. So actually not too many parts, which is pretty nice. Makes the install a little bit less scary. So I'm gonna go ahead and give this a shot, but first I will start the car so you guys can see what it sounds like before we pop this in. Alright, so I've been working for about an hour so far, and it hasn't been too bad actually. So I disconnected the battery, that's the battery cover, mass airflow sensor, the boost intake pipe. This was for the ECU cover, engine cover, and the boost pipe. But something I ran into was when I was trying to take off the ECU by itself, these are the bolts you need to get to, these darker ones, and they're T30s. So this is the tool I have for T30s. I tried even taking off the entire thing, but it just does not fit there. There's not room at all. So I also didn't want to just risk not being able to put it back on because there's such limited space. The ECU is obviously very important and I don't want to mess it up and I don't want to damage it. So what I'm going to do is try to take out the air box, but I have two very plush microfiber towels that I just put here so that if the ECU bangs up against anything, at least it'll be soft and somewhat cushioned. And then I'm just using this magnetic tool holder because it attaches to this metal right here so it doesn't come off too easily, and I'll hold this in place. So that's just a tip. If you're having trouble getting these out, I don't recommend leaving the ECU in, but I don't really have a choice right now. I just don't have the tools, but this is my makeshift option. Hope it works for you guys. Okay, so I'm at the infamous air box, and I've been just trying to get this thing out of here for about an hour, which is pretty insane. And I was getting really frustrated, but I realized now that I was able to get the ECU up, I can remove these screws super easily. So I'm going to remove the ECU, then I can take out these microfibers, and hopefully that makes it a little bit easier, and then I won't have to worry about damaging this. So I'm going to unscrew my last one right now and pop this out.
One eternity later.
Okay, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. That was the hardest thing I have ever done on this car, and I was so ready to give it up, honestly, but it's finally out. I'm so glad that it's out. That took me probably like an hour and a half just trying to wiggle it out and get everything cleared out of there safely. I took off the air filter little cover and the filter itself and the ECU, and it helped a little bit, but what really helped me was I called my boy again, Guntas, Cosmic C30, because I was ready to give up and I didn't know what to do. The best advice he gave me was you have to take the fattest part of the airbox and get it past the middle of the fan shroud. Like right when I got it past the middle, I was able to pull up, out, and twist it, and you got to pull it hard, and that way I was able to get it out. So I'll just show you really quickly. It's this part, the fattest part that's sticking out. That is just what you have to get past the fan shroud. So you start pulling it out and then twist it up. But oh my God, I feel like that's a rite of passage, and that's just like the entry to being a Volvo guy, is you got to take one of those out before you say you're a real one. Oh man. All right, anyway, shout out to my boy again. Thank you for the help. Let's go ahead and do the actual work now. All right, so now I'm just letting the oil drain on the car. I loosened the oil cap and this oil filter cap. So while you're waiting for the oil to drain, you really want to make sure that you create the threads for these holes before you put in the new piece. Otherwise it's going to be really hard to put it in. So as you can see, I've already threaded these top two. You can kind of see the threads in there. Let's see. See the threads? And see the threads? And then this third one I haven't done yet. So there are no threads in there. So it's nice to have an open space. You're just going to take the same bolt or fastener that went in when you took these out. Make sure that it goes in very straight. Screw it all the way in carefully, very straight, and then just back it out so that you have threads in there ready to go when you put this back in. Okay, this job is no joke. I was sweating like crazy, and I started at 1:30 and it's 5:30 right now, so it's been 4 hours, but I finally got the PCV housing out, and I'm glad I changed it now because this is really bad. So let me show you guys the difference. So here's the brand new housing, a little dirty from my hands. And there's the old one. It was leaking down the right side really, really bad, and getting off some of these bolts was really difficult, and it was way harder than I thought, just because they were covered in sludge. So I'm very glad I'm finally doing this, and I hope I wasn't too hard on the car, but it seems like I'm way overdue. So about 4 hours just to get this thing out. Hopefully it's easier to put in, but that is pretty bad. If yours looks anything like that, you should probably change it. So just out of curiosity, I wanted to take a look at the diaphragm in here. I'm not going to open this one up. It's brand new and it's already perfectly sealed, so I don't want to mess that up. But here's my eBay diaphragm after maybe 20,000 miles. Pretty dark. And it's kind of firm, so it's a cheaper fix, but I guess maybe that's why it's still leaking. So in a pinch, if you want to save yourself another maybe year or two, still help me out, you can use a new diaphragm, but ultimately whole new housing is really going to solve your problem long term. Alright, so here's a pro tip that FCP Euro actually didn't do. They put in the filter and then had a lot of trouble taking this off because it's completely dry. There is a filter in there, so that's great that they included that. But what you want to do is get some fresh oil and lubricate this O-ring all the way around. That way it doesn't bind up and it's easier to take on and off, because getting it off right now was really difficult, and it would have been even harder after this was in the car. So lubricate this before you put it in the car. Alright, so the starter sits right here, PCV housing right there, so clearly it's really nice to do them together. This was very difficult to get off. After you get off these nuts, there's a tiny little dowel in there that was just stuck. So I used some penetrant to get it off. I had to spray it and then really aggressively just shake it back and forth like that for a while till it came out. And then when I took it out, it's toast. Look at all that corrosion. So definitely makes sense that my starter is also bad. So good thing I'm changing that. But keep trying, use that freeze off. I also used a rubber mallet and just kept smacking it. It was really hard to get off, but we're almost there.
6.5 hours later.
All right, I'm finally done. I started at 1:30 and now it is 11:30. As you can see, I had to grab a lamp, had to have some help from my family and my friends. But let's go ahead and start the car up and see if everything's good to go. I really hope it is. Alright, so there you have it. I look like a mess right now, but 10 hours is what it takes an average DIYer to do your starter, PCV assembly, and to change your oil. Maybe shorter, maybe a little bit longer, but I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I wouldn't necessarily say working on cars was fun, but I'm very happy and it was very rewarding to have that nice startup with everything going well. Thank you all again for watching, and I will see you on the next one.
Bye.